So, ladies and gentlemen, we've talked about the ongoing situation with representatives of the Jackie Vautour family being charged and harassed by Parks Canada and the RCMP in recent weeks over their what do you call recognition in Campbellton and sacred fires at the Kuchapaquak Park. Now, we've talked in previous podcasts, and you already know the history. The land was expropriated, where 250 families, including Jackie Vautour's family and parts of 8 villages, give or take, in the Kuchapaquak region, were expropriated. Now, in 2024, this will be considered a legal act. But the person that coordinated the situation, one of them was a Acadian Metis, or we call mixed blood Acadian. Louis Robichaud, the Premier of Brunswick, he conspired with Pierre Trudeau, the father of Justin Trudeau, to take land for the park and basically go their own way without any consultation or lack of sufficient compensation to the people expropriated. Now, did this all occur because of what had happened in the 1967 election? There's some theory amongst journalists and historians, which are both, that Louis Robichaud despised his own background. Now, it all comes down to the 1967 vote. Now, Charlie Van Horne from the Campbellton region was leading Conservatives against Robichaud's Liberal Party in the vote that year. And his big comment during the vote was this: these half-breeds, referring to Robichaud, shouldn't drink liquor. Now, this is one of the most incendiary comments in the 1967 election, won by Robichaud over Van Horne. And of course, Van Horne losing led to Richard Hatfield's rise in the Conservative Party to be Premier for 17 years. Now, according to an article from 2002 called Ethnicity and Accommodation in the Brunswick Party System by William Cross and Ian Stewart, in the election of 1967, the Conservatives were led by the mercurial demagogue Charlie Van Horne, which the bridge in Campbellton is named after. Although Van Horne is generally credited with not emphasizing the ethnic implications of PEO, his capacity to give offense was seemingly boundless. Despite being the offspring of a French mother and a Dutch father, and thus the closest the Conservative Party had ever come at that time to selecting a Acadian leader, Van Horne defamed Robichaud mercilessly through publications and comments. These half-breeds shouldn't drink liquor, claimed Van Horne. Louis can't take a drink, he has too much Indian in him. Now, it was later confirmed that Robichaud was an alcoholic. As to the fact was he an alcoholic at the time, I really don't say, because he was only 2 years old. Now, according to the article, such incendiary observations may have alarmed some Anglophone New Brunswickers, and the 1967 results essentially reproduced those of the previous 2 provincial elections. Now, this article, according to published reports, this particular episode, again, comes from William Cross and Ian Stewart's 2002 article, which appeared in the Journal of Canadian Studies. Now, Van Horne recognized the fact that many Acadians, using the plural term half-breeds, there was no conceptual of the Metis Acadian or Acadian Metis we use now, which I am a mixed blood, were a mixed blood and used it to try to tarnish Robichaud's reputation, to try to win the 1967 vote. According to the Canadian Encyclopedia, Robichaud again was the confirmed first elected Acadian Premier of the province of New Brunswick. Clearly, public discrimination against mixed-blood Acadians existed long into the 1900s. Now, this article was provided by Eli La Liberté. Now, there's no doubt that Robichaud made a lot of strong and positive decisions for all New Brunswickers. There's no denying that. But was he a traitor to his own people? Why would he choose to expropriate land from his own people to get an economic benefit? What benefit was he doing this just to try to be re-elected in 1970, which he lost? Now, Robichaud's path to the 67 vote was quite interesting, because some people thought that Charlie Van Horne, with the right momentum, was going to win the election that year. Now, let's look at what happened in the 67 general election. The governing Liberal Party under Louis Robichaud had just completed implementing its landmark Equal Opportunity Program, which Robichaud had promised, which drastically improved government services in poor and francophone regions of the province. Several Liberal cabinet ministers had quit politics during the previous term, including some who were uncomfortable with Robichaud's policies. Education Minister Henry Hearn was fired as well after having an extramarital affair. This is all what's going on. Now, the PCs had elected Charlie Van Horne as leader in November '66. Van Horne, whose cowboy hat had become his trademark to voters, had faced several lawsuits over his personal financial matters during the '60s, which caused him to sell his hotel in Campbellton, but claimed he had all been settled. The Liberals claimed that industrialist Casey Irving, whose own personal battle with Robichaud, was funding Van Horne's campaign. Conservatives were hopeful that Van Horne's charisma and speaking skills could surpass that of Robichaud. Now, during the campaign, critics accused Van Horne of being vague on his promises for a new tomorrow. He had pledged to increase health care and education funding while reducing taxes, with no answer as to how it would be accomplished. Now, questions also arose as to the Conservative campaign's funding. He campaigned across the province in a Cadillac, while Don Messer, one of the most popular musicians in Atlantic Canada at the time, accompanied Van Horne at several campaign stops. However, equal opportunity was widely unpopular in many Conservative strongholds, and the Liberals had been perceived as arrogant. Polls showed a close race. Now, Robichaud campaigned under the slogan of a responsible government, with the entire campaign focused on attacking Van Horne. He used a dramatic effect of listing all the Conservatives' promises on paper and unfurling it across the room. In the final days of the campaign, 2 Toronto newspapers ran unflattering articles about Van Horne, to which he threatened to sue the authors. The Conservative reaction is believed to have turned the results decidedly in Robichaud's favour. Now, the NDP participated in the Brunswick provincial election for the first time, having sat out the 63 vote. The party ran only 3 candidates, all of whom considered a multi-member district in Northumberland, and none of whom were elected. Now, Brenda Mary Robinson was elected in this election. She was the first woman elected to the Legislative Assembly of New Brunswick and the first woman to become a cabinet minister in the province. Now, it broke down to this, ladies and gentlemen, 32 seats for the Liberals, where at the time were called the Brunswick Liberal Association. The PCs won 26, and the NDP, under Jack Curry, won only 0.1% of the vote. Popular vote was split 52% to 47, and this is how it broke down, ladies and gentlemen. It went literally left to right. The northwest and northeast New Brunswick, going all the way down to the St. John area, went red, and the rest of the population went blue. Now, the uptick in seats benefited the Conservatives. They went from 20 to 26, but it went from 0 to 32, so they held their margin. Now, Robichaud won his seat in Kent, but Charlie Van Horne ran in Restigouche but lost. And like I said, and later it led to Richard Hatfield again taking over the leadership. Now, the idea about Charlie Van Horne, the half-breed comment against Robichaud, this was a dirty politics election like crazy. But did the aspect of, like he worked on the Languages Act, Robichaud did a great job, and Equal Opportunity did a great job, but why did he decide not to take up for all the half-breeds or the Acadian Metis like him in the province? Why did he pick and choose? It's still yet to be known. I've never had a chance to interview Louis Robichaud. I would ask him straight out. We're dealing right now, it's 55 years with that decision. And again, Robichaud did good things, and he did positive things for the province, whether you like him or not, because he brought New Brunswick into the modern era. But he sold out his own people, in my opinion. And I say sold out like a small s. He didn't do that maybe in a way that you would think somebody would cut somebody's throat, but the fact was, these were his, not say family, but his ancestors altogether, because he came from Kent, and Kent is very close to Coujabquac, and it just doesn't make any sense. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave it for you to make the decision on that. I believe Louis Robichaud did a massive wrong thing. And when I said in the previous podcast that Louis Robichaud needs to apologize, I mean, the government needs to apologize for what Louis Robichaud did. In hindsight, again, expropriation is illegal now in 2024. Why was it not illegal in 1969? Because New Brunswick wasn't in a modern constitutional era. Right now, after the Charter in 82, Canada has been a better country. But from 69 to 82, it was an amalgam of, regional conflicts, and you had the separatists in Quebec. You had the call for separatism out west, the Alberta versus Pierre Trudeau war. You had the west coast of BC not really feeling part of Canada, maritime alienation, all kind of different stuff. Problem in Newfoundland with the economy. Again, it's a head scratcher. Like, this would be comparable to Barack Obama taking land from his own people to make a park in the States. You know, kicking off black sharecroppers or low-income black families to make a park. Can you imagine the controversy about that, ladies and gentlemen? I'll leave you with that. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's our latest podcast of the Louis Robichaud era. If you like what we're doing here, what our historical backgrounds, let us know what I like, comment, subscribe, or share. Bye.